Now everyone, well, we're back again. And again, what I'm going to do here, right off the bat, get my little sheet of paper here. And I know somebody said to make links to our Facebook site, our Facebook groups. I don't want to do that. That's what you want me to do. I don't want to do what you want me to do. I want to do the way I want to do it. That's the way I am. Twin Flame Process, one group. Soul to Soul Connections, and Soul Connections, Evolution of You. Our 3 Facebook groups, and I think you'll find them interesting if you want to get into a little bit of different than what you may be accustomed to in the spiritual community. All right. Excuse me. Now, the next video that I have here that I wanted to do is this is going to be interesting, all right, because it's funny. Sometimes I feel like I'm very fortunate. I seem to know things ahead of time of what's going to happen in the Twin Flame community and with consciousness as a whole. And I do the video ahead of time, and people go, "Duh, what's he talking about?" All right. And this is one of those times because I think it was about almost a year ago. I did a video, and the title of it was, as I remember, Twin Flames, Can You Have More Than One? And I knew when I did the video it was going to cause a shitstorm, and it did. And I got a whole pile of people got their panties all in a knot. And I got a lot of hate mail, especially by 2 or 3 people in particular who just thought I was off my nut, all right? And, hey, I'm going to say it. I told you so, all right? So here's what's been happening, all right? And this is just from the experience of myself and Nicole, and I have to say this, in the last, I think, 6 weeks, and counting this week also, I personally have had, I think, 9 or 10 now, 9 or 10 people who have made appointments for counseling, and I'm going to share with you what the counseling was all about. And this is kind of generalized for your listening convenience for the moment. But basically, the story goes something like this. This is what they've gotten a hold of me for. Is they are with their twin flame, and they have been with their twin flame varying from a few months up to the longest that I've connected with, up to, I think it was 5 years. And suddenly, and they're all in between, and these are the ones that I've connected with. Okay, there's probably a hell of a lot more that are going elsewhere or whatever, and that's fine. Whatever floats your boat. But the theme of this is rather interesting, and trust me, I am not laughing here. I'm laughing about what I am laughing about is the circumstances that kind of, comes up, and I do a video, and then I'm kind of ahead of my time with it. Kind of deal. It just keeps happening to me all of the time, and it just blows me away. Kind of things like just sit here and chuckle about it when it happened. But basically, the idea of this is what has happened is they're with their twin flame. They have been together for, as I said, up to 4 and 5 years, and suddenly one of the pair, and in I think 4 or 5 of these cases, they were actually living together under the same roof in a twin flame relationship or a twin flame union, whatever the hell you want to call it. And suddenly one of them has an intense connection with another person, almost to, and in 1 or 2 particular cases, even more so than the original twin. And the other twin is saying, "What the walk happened? What is going on? how can this be? This shouldn't be happening. This is my twin flame. You can have only one. You can only have a connection like this with the one. And I remember saying this a year ago, that you can have this connection with not one, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people, one right after the other. And here's what's happening in these situations, and I am not laughing at all. I understand what happens when you're in a twin flame connection and you have a heartfelt, intense connection for another person. Because both Nicole and I have dealt with this in the last several years, all right? But now we have people who have connected in a twin flame connection, and this is why I say, okay, and I don't want to be snotty here, but this is why I say, if you're in a twin flame connection, the both of you need to get informed about the process and the intricacies of a twin flame connection, so that what I'm going to talk about right now doesn't happen to you in this particular situation. Because both people, at some point, if they're in a twin flame connection, need to get informed about the process and go to whoever they resonate with who actually understands the process. Here's my perspective on it, all right? What's happened is these people have met someone else, and I've had quite a few of these people, and they're not, the biggest part of it is, I have to say, on the perspective of there's more males involved with this, having a connection with another party, than it is females. But then again, I'm only talking about 10 particular cases, okay? These are only the ones that have come to me for counseling. And the male has drifted off and had a connection with another female. And some of the information that's coming is, well, they want to go ahead and explore this, and then you can imagine how the other one feels, all right? This is no laughing matter, all right? This is not funny at all. And the anguish and the torment that the other party can be going through can be tremendous. And all of the self-doubts, and this is where all of the belief systems of the twin flame community can really start rearing its ugly head, because it causes even more chaos, all right? And what's happened is this, is I have mentioned before that when you come together in a twin flame connection, what happens, the telepathic communication is activated. And in many cases, the heart center is activated. Remember that part? Kundalini gets activated. Sexual energy gets activated. And even latent spiritual gifts and abilities get activated. So it is only natural that as the people progress, they're going to start connecting with other people at a heart center level, all right? And this has happened. This is not uncommon to see this in the Facebook groups on Twin Flame. And there are quite a few people who are enjoying the connections for what they are, without any kind of mingling or sexual encounter with that person in particular, or any kind of dating or anything. They understand what's going on. And what's going on is this. Again, I go back to the brainwashing that we've all been conditioned with, and that is when you feel this intense connection or this in the heart for somebody, that possibly there's a relationship pending. And I don't know how many times I've counseled people who have been in marriages, and marriages that they're quite happy with and they don't want to get out of, and they have children and they have careers or jobs, and they're happy, and they connect with someone and have an intense heart center awakening, and the confusion starts. Again, what I'm not going to do during this video is tell anyone what I think they should do. All I'm going to do is to try to explain to people what is happening, and then you can make your own choices and decisions as to how you're going to do it and how you're going to manifest with it. And in some cases, it may take the individual or individuals in question the experience to go out and do it and follow through with whatever they think is the correct thing to do, and then learn from the experiences as to what it's doing. Now, I have in the past come across 3 or 4 gentlemen who have been aware of these types of connections and were very prolific in adopting the bumblebee philosophy. And the bumblebee philosophy is a very simple one. Anyone can do it. The bumblebee philosophy is a bumblebee with a big heart, and all it does is keep jumping from flower to flower to flower, pollinating each one as it goes along. It's called the bumblebee philosophy. And I've met 3 or 4 gentlemen and even a couple of ladies who follow this direction. And that's their choice. There's no right or there's no wrong here. But the situation is, if you are already in a, I'm going to use the word committed relationship with a person, and you are in that particular mindset, and suddenly your partner comes up to you and says, well, I've met somebody else and the intensity of the connection is even more than you and I, it's a pretty crushing blow to say the least. And I could well imagine how a person would feel. But what's going to happen is, and I want to use myself for an example, I and Nicole, when we're doing counseling, Nicole does counseling also, we have that heartfelt connection with everybody that we connect with on a daily basis, 3, 4, 5 times a day. And we understand what that connection is about. The connection can be more or less several things, and I want to talk about that for a minute. Say, for example, you're in a twin flame connection. It's going along nicely. Your partner suddenly connects with somebody else, and you wonder what the hell is going on. One of the things that can be happening, I'm only going to point out possibilities here. I'm not going to give you my opinion as what I think, again, you should do. That's not what I'm here for. One of the things that can be happening is this. There could be an outstanding issue that you and your twin flame have not resolved as of yet. And that doesn't mean that you're not cohabitating together and having a relatively fruitful time and you're being of service or whatever. But always the soul growth of the individual consciousness is continuing to strive to grow and evolve. And sometimes what can happen is, if you don't resolve a particular issue or impediment or a blockage that either one of you can't act as a catalyst for to bring it up or push the right button, then what will happen is you will attract to yourself a circumstance, a situation, or another person who, through a heart-centered connection, can actually bring that issue out in you. It doesn't mean that a relationship is pending with that person, or there's any kind of sexual connotations to it. It just means it's that kind of connection for that reason. The other thing that can happen, and I see this quite often, and that is, and the reason I'm aware of it is because I do connect with a lot of people on a daily basis and have been doing it for years. And I realize that one of the ways that we communicate is through the spoken word or the written word. And as you and I both know, when you're going through a Kundalini awakening and your chakras are firing and your heart center is going bananas, okay, a lot of times your words and intentions of what you are saying gets misinterpreted and chaos reigns. I mean, how many of you have been involved in any of the Facebook group and you said one thing and 6 people took it the wrong way, all right? And they read into it all kinds of emotions and feelings that weren't even there in the first place, but that's what they picked up, or that's what they say they picked up from you. You were doing this, or you're being that, or you're being this, or you're doing that, and that wasn't your intention at all. That happened to me, I think, about a year or so ago, and for a while I just stayed right off of Facebook because everybody was misinterpreting what I was saying. And so what happens is, in order for us to communicate, we need to learn to communicate in a different way. Telepathy, as many of you experienced it in the beginning of your twin flame connection, you know, knowing what the other twin is doing and hearing and thinking and seeing. That's a very primitive form of communication. It is next to verbal communication. The most superior communication is heart-to-heart connection. And when I say heart-to-heart connection, what that means is everything that you are, okay, everything that you are, everything that you've grown to, everything that you've experienced, everything that you are right now, this moment, today, is all there and it's available as an energetic template or imprint via the heart center chakra. Now, wouldn't it be kick-ass if you could meet somebody on video, on Skype, or talk to them on the phone, and suddenly you feel this heartfelt connection on both sides of the fence, and 10 lifetimes of experience or lifelines, and all of your multidimensional extensions of self and their experience could all be exchanged in a heart center connection. Now that's something to really get friggin' excited about, all right? That means that the sharing of knowledge and information through the heart center chakra is astounding, all right? For me, all right, I figure that's the most finite communication and information that can be shared. And you don't have all of the bullshit, all of the hidden agendas. You don't have all of the tendencies of whatever else, think about what you're going to say and all that kind of stuff coming into play. And this is what is taking place at this particular point in time. However, unfortunately, we're not all at the same level of understanding. We're not, all right? I understand that. And in a lot of cases, when I have had a heartfelt connection with someone else, and Nicole has them too, we've talked about it many times, we have found that a few days later, we will have a revelation. It can happen a few hours later also. We will have a revelation, or we will have an understanding, or we will have a knowing, or we will access information that was an exchange between you and that other person, all right? The other thing that can happen also is energetically. There may be part of your, oh, it just started raining. There may be part of your masculine, if you're male, that needs a certain feminine charge to it, or a certain feminine energetic connection. It doesn't have to be sexual. It can just be a particular female that you're not with at the particular moment. It could be outside of your twin flame connection, and that would be brought toward you. The thing here is, again, and I hate to be repetitive, is we spend so much time in the twin flame community, all around the romance and the fantasy and the fluff shit, all right? We don't understand what's going on with the real mechanics of the situation that's going on at this particular point. And when you're in a twin flame connection and your partner has this type of connection, all of these things, or any one of them, could be coming into play at that particular point. But you have to understand something. Your partner, obviously, when this goes on, all right, the heart center goes on, your partner, be it a male or a female, is going to think that that other person is sometime in a connection. And this is where I have seen many people also. I mean, everyone's sort of open relationships where people can go and be with whoever they want, all right? And I understand the concept. And the concept here, when the heart center goes, can be really overwhelming. So what I'm doing is just presenting the information of what may be happening, and then the individual can go ahead and make their own decision as to how they're going to apply it in their particular life. The other thing that is happening at this particular point, and I want to mention this, is, and I'm going to get a little technical here for a moment, information and knowledge. And what I'm talking about here is this, is the individual in question that you have that heartfelt connection with may have been in a situation where they've overcome a trauma, or overcome an issue, or overcome something that you yourself have dealt with, right? And you've never overcome it, to kind of take it a little deeper here. And that exchange takes place. Also, what can take place, and this is another thing that takes place, is the body physical is a vehicle. And I'm going to use the word ascension here. And we're all ascending, as it were, into a higher vibration. All right. And what happens is the body physical is that vehicle. And everyone who has gone through this pathway and has gone through the evolutionary process for a number of years has valuable cellular and molecular changes that have taken place within the body. So in other words, we can be seeding each other with a lot of stuff. And I don't think any of us really fully realize the actual mechanics and the interplay that's going on in this heart-to-heart connection. Most of us just see it as another sexual connection or an opportunity to bounce around the one room with somebody who has a great ass or a nice set of tits, and that's the size of it. But that's not what's going on here. There's a whole deep core issue going on in this particular application. Also, what can happen is this, is you can have a group of people, or one person who can connect with 4 or 5 people with a great deal of intensity all at the same time. This has happened to myself, and what's happening is this. The other possibility that's taking place is this, and I'm using the word possibilities here, is this. Every time that I have had a very intense connection with someone, heart-centered connection, what is taking place, whether we are aware of it or not, I'm aware of it, is we are continually, how am I going to put this into words? I can see the friggin' picture here, but I can't put it into words. We all have been in certain soul groups, all right? And those soul groups, as a general rule, I hesitate in saying this because somebody's going to take it as a bad news scenario, but it's not. Our soul groups, overall, in general terms, have degenerated. And what's happening is the soul group energy can be rebuilt and refurbished, and it can be regenerated and revitalized. And if we can connect with other people from our similar soul group that we've been in before, and connect with others that are doing the same thing, then the exchange of information can be transposed back and forth between us. We formulate a group consciousness, which is then open to even greater communication through the dream state, through the meditative state, where we can communicate and exchange and be with each other without all of the silly rules and agendas and behavior modules we have to do in three-dimensional reality. In other words, if I want to talk to you openly and freely or communicate with you, I now can do that in an altered state of consciousness instead of having to go through the typewriter or whatever, or the texting and all of the bullshit you have to do in three-dimensional reality. This is another thing that's taking place. So in essence, this connection that the person may be having and the other one is in complete crisis mode, basically, again, I need to emphasize this. The twin flame connection is not just about relationships. Yes, relationships happen, but the twin flame connection is about evolution. It's evolution of consciousness, evolution of you as a soul. But the problem lies is everybody wants to have it in the terms or definitive expression of it's a relationship, and anything that's happened is all revolving around relationship. You can't have a relationship with anyone until you can have a relationship with yourself. In order to have a relationship with yourself, you have to be a unified being. You have to be together. And it's very obvious that a lot of people on the planet, even though they are in a twin flame connection, are still not together. So we have all of these steps and stages that we're moving through at this particular point. I hope the video has helped some of you understand what may be happening if your partner is going through this at this particular point in time and you are devastated by what's going on. Don't be. Your partner is probably not going anywhere, but he's probably or she's going to do some things that you're going to look at and you're going to take them very personally. You're going to take it as being hurtful or painful. But you must understand that every one of us is evolving and growing. And you know the old expression, no pain, no gain. That's the way it is in a lot of these situations as they go along. And you must always allow the person that you're with, in whatever way you're with them, they have the right to choose and express whatever way they want to go and do. If they're going to learn anything or change or modify, that choice is up to them. You cannot be with a person and expect to be free unless that person is totally free also. Freedom doesn't come with rules and agendas that are attached to it in that sense. I hope the video has been helpful to you. It's not a kind of a crying towel video that's going to make you feel probably a whole lot better. But through understanding of what's taking place with some of the people that this may be happening to, I think it will ease the situation around you. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.